Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from ThoughtChange.com. We are exploring the mystical side of life once again today. If you enjoy our conversations, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Today, I have Tenya Eickenberg with me. Welcome, Tenya.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Tenya, you are a healer. You work with body code.
Yeah, I work with the body code through muscle testing, and I use a lot of other different charts to help facilitate my clients in finding what needs to be addressed, what would impact them and benefit them the most during our session.
And how did you learn how to muscle test? A lot of people really struggle with getting really clear, concise, accurate answers.
Absolutely. I struggled in the beginning too. I was, I started out with the emotion code and moved to the body code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And I started with trying to learn the ring to ring method. And I could not get it. I couldn't feel that pressure that my yes and my no's were different. It just all felt the same. And then I just explored different techniques of muscle testing. And one that I settled on was the ring to finger method. And I used that for probably a year and a half until one day I just decided to start trying the ring to ring method again, and am now using that. It just took a lot of practice. There were days when I would sit there and I would, mentally ask myself yes, no questions and just practice my muscle testing for hours. But it's like anything else. You have to practice it and you have to learn to trust it. And then when I really was still having trouble fully trusting the answers that I was getting, I had other practitioners energetically clear around why I wasn't feeling or trusting my muscle testing. And there were quite a few things that came up. And I constantly check to see if my muscle testing is 100% accurate before working with a client, because I don't want there to be any interferences, because energetically we can still have interferences that impact every aspect of us, including our muscle testing.
It's a really interesting modality to help clear out those energetic blockages, let's say, or those stuck points in our consciousness, in our body, in our emotions, our mind. What drew you to the body code?
That's my story. I was suffering, and I had for many years, with anxiety and depression. I grew up with a mother who is bipolar and a father who was unemotionally there. So I was never taught to deal with my emotions. And in 2018, early 2019, my husband and I moved to our dream home, to a community that we absolutely love. Everything looked perfect on the outside, but inside I was still dying. I originally went the traditional routes of medication and talk therapy. I had been down that road before, and they weren't doing the job. They weren't getting rid of that feeling of sadness and worry. And I wanted it gone. I didn't want to have to deal with it anymore. And then I did a quick Google search for holistic emotional healing, and the emotion code was the first thing that popped up. So, of course, I dove into YouTube videos and books and articles about it and decided, you know what? I've tried everything else. Why not try this? So I booked a session with another practitioner, and the relief or the weight that was lifted off my shoulders after that first session was something that I had not felt in a long time, if ever. So I decided I wanted to learn more. And so I booked another session and decided to go ahead and get certified in it, because I just wanted to know everything about it. It was never my intention to help anybody but friends and family with it. And it just turned into so much more. But within 6 months, I was able to put my anxiety and depression fully into remission through the emotion code, the body code, and adding in many elements of self-care, which I still practice all of it today to keep that that stuff from coming back because I don't want to ever be in that position again. It wasn't fun.
The growth experiences probably aren't ever fun, but they're so rich in teachings for us. Now, you said something that I really love, and I really want to pinpoint it because it's something that my clients are like so amazed by the weight that emotions have. We don't think of emotions as actually having, something tangible like weight to them.
If you can picture an emotion as a dumbbell, right? You have this 5-pound dumbbell of sadness, and you put that on your shoulder and you're carrying that around day after day. And then you come into a situation where you start to feel your anxiety come up and you're starting to worry and have fear. So then you pick up another 10-pound dumbbell and you set that on top of that 5-pound dumbbell. Well, now you've got 15 pounds of weight on one shoulder. If you can imagine that those are those emotions, you can understand how much they can weigh you down. And when we're able to clear those emotions out and take those dumbbells off one at a time, just the relief that you feel in your shoulders, that tension that goes away, that sadness that goes away, it just completely relaxes you. When I had my heart wall finally cleared, I woke up the next day in just a state of such relaxation that I didn't know what I was feeling. I had to muscle test to figure out what the emotion was that I was feeling. And it was joy. Like, it wasn't a giddy excitement type of joy, but it was just a calm, peaceful joy that I had never felt before. I couldn't even describe what the word was until I muscle tested for it, which was just, in the beginning, it was just weird in itself. Like, how do I not know what this feeling is?
Kind of crazy thing is that these emotions that we carry around don't necessarily have to be active. We don't have to be feeling them in the moment, but it's all that emotional baggage we carry with us that we haven't processed from way back when.
Right. Or that we carried over from a past life or inherited from our ancestors. I've seen emotions or beliefs go back, generations.
If we have an inherited belief or emotion and we activate it in ourselves as well, then it's more. But we can also just carry it and not turn that gene on, right? And still gets handed down into future generations too. So there are many benefits to clearing out some of that old stuff, right?
Yeah, it's generational healing.
When you actually let it go and you feel so much lighter, you feel that weight off of you, a more expansive. I love it when I take people through my process and they have like a sharp pain or a real constricted feeling just in that moment. And then poof, it's gone. The body code is a lot like that too.
Yep. Yeah.
Tell us how it has helped you moving forward.
Oh gosh. I do weekly sessions on myself around, I think I'm at the maintenance stage now in my healing journey, that I clear what is most needed, what would give me the most impactful benefit for that week. But I have found that I use muscle testing for my vitamins. I balance my vitamins and my hormones through energy. I rarely take supplements unless I muscle test that I need them. Just the added education beyond energy alignment and the body code, learning about energy in general, just how it affects us, has changed how I deal with other people, how I accept situations. A lot of situations that come up in my life, most of them are just, oh, okay, well, that was a little bump in the road, time to move on. I don't sit in why. I don't sit in what if. It's just, okay, well, I wasn't in alignment with that. Okay, learning experience, time to move on. I just don't carry that stuff with me anymore. It's not worth it. I carry the experiences and the lessons, but I don't carry the baggage.
So how can someone who does get kind of stuck in the why or project into the future, the what if, What tips do you have for them to step out of that in the moment so they can give themselves a different experience?
What I use is I use touch. So if I find that I am going into the past for too long or into the future for too long, I stop and I grab a necklace, a pen, a blanket, whatever is around me, and I feel it and I pay attention to the texture of it because that brings me back into where I am right now. And it allows me to relax and refocus and wonder, okay, do I really need to be sitting in that classroom in fourth grade when I was being bullied by the mean girl? Or do I need to worry about how my kids are going to get to college if they're in kindergarten? You know, being more in the now moment shows you how little your problems really are, at least in my opinion. It shows us if we're in the moment, if we're in the now, we have little to no problems. We might be in that situation currently where there is a problem, but most of the time we're projecting these stories and creating these stories, which then creates those emotions of fear or anxiety or sadness or anger. And all that does is create havoc in our minds and in our bodies. And when we can not push those aside, but when we can step back and say, okay, so why am I so worried about college in 18 years when they haven't even started school yet? You can plan for the future, but don't stay in the future. You can reflect on the past, but don't stay in the past because there's so much more to enjoy when we're right here in the moment right now that most of us don't even realize we have to enjoy.
Have you had the experience of shifting the emotional response of yourself or someone else and then looking back or having them look back at that situation and having a whole different perspective?
Yes. I actually just this morning I was talking with one of my clients about setting boundaries. And one of the things I asked her was, when you tell somebody no, how does that make you feel? And she's like scared, fearful, you know, just those feelings of being rejected or anything. And I'm like, okay, so I want you to come back into right now. How do you feel right now? And she's like, well, I feel great. I feel fine. I'm like, so if you're going to tell somebody no, why are you creating those feelings that you don't even know if you're going to have?
And that aren't actually true.
Right. You don't know if you're going to have those feelings because you're just creating that story, which then stops you from setting that boundary because you're afraid of what that person might do. But those boundaries are not for that person. Those boundaries are for you.
I think it's important that we remember that our emotional response is the response that we have because of the thoughts that we think. It's not necessarily the truth, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, so many people make their choices emotionally, and it doesn't always pan out for them.
No, and most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time, if we make a decision based on our emotions, it doesn't pan out for us. You have to really step back from those emotions and go, okay, so is this emotion going to create the outcome that I want? Is it going to create the outcome that I expect? And most of the time, it's going to create an outcome that they don't expect and that they don't want. It's a good indicator that, maybe I shouldn't make this decision yet because I'm not making it with good emotions. I'm not making it with being in alignment. When you're in alignment with things, when you're in alignment with your emotions and with yourself, things are so easy. Life is just so easy. I'll never go back to the way it was. If something seems hard, if something seems like you have to struggle through it, you're not meant to do that job or write that book or, be in that relationship. Life is supposed to be easy. Yes, we come here to have human experience, to learn lessons. We have to go through struggles sometimes to learn those lessons, but how you come out of those struggles makes a huge difference. And if you can find the lesson within that struggle, that light bulb will go off and you'll be like, bing, I know what I need to do now. And I know that's going to be hard for some people to hear because it's, there's so many different aspects of struggle.
In general, a lot of people are really attached to their struggle because it's their story. They've identified with it. I think it's also really important to note that when you make decisions in positive emotions, that can be off kilter as well. You can make a choice with really good intentions. It feels good in that moment, 24 hours or 48 hours. You're like, oh, what did I do that for?
I say because there was a lesson in that. You were supposed to do that in order to learn that lesson. Just because we go into something with a positive attitude or a positive emotion doesn't mean it's going to work out. Doesn't mean it's going to be a good turnout. All it means is that you're in alignment with what's happening and there's something to learn from that. But you will have gone through it easier than you might have if you were fighting it.
Very interesting. I'm a student of human design and I'm an emotional projector, which means we have an emotional curve. And in order to make our decisions, it's recommended that we wait over our curve because what we decide at the top and what we decide at the bottom of our emotional wave, totally different. So it's very interesting. It's an interesting take on that, Tenya. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what else would you like to share with our listeners today?
If you're in the space to want to start clearing out your emotional baggage, 100% you can learn to do all of that yourself. We are able to heal ourselves. Even if you need a little bit of guidance, you're able to do it with research and practice and everything. But in the end, when you're clearing out any of this emotional baggage, getting rid of things, letting things go, I suggest that you release them, you clear them, let them go with love and gratitude, because there was a reason that you needed them or had them in the first place, whether it was to learn a lesson or protection or whatever, you needed that. So release them with love and gratitude. Understand that you knew you had a lesson to learn in that. And when you release those things with love and gratitude, and maybe even with forgiveness, they clear, they go away. Love is such a strong energy. It really can conquer all when used in the right way. And when you just release with love, you release with gratitude, you're thankful for everything that you've been through, everything else that is to come is much easier to deal with.
I'd say too that emotional healing doesn't have to take a really long time. When I did my emotion code training in Toronto with Dr. Bradley Nelson, he picked up the paper and there was a story on the front page of a young teenage girl who had tried to commit suicide. And while he was in Toronto, he reached out to the family and did like little mini sessions with her on the phone on our breaks. And after, I think probably the third day of training, she came in and she spoke to probably 200 people, got up on stage. She was not depressed. She wasn't scared. She was a real testament to the power of the work that he did with her and how we really can shift and let go some of those old programs and old emotions. It was a really amazing testament to the work.
Yeah, that's why I love this work. It can be an overnight change for some people. For some people, there's lots of layers. It just all depends on what the focus of the work is.
Tell us some of the things that can take us out of alignment.
The food that we put into our bodies can take us out of alignment, the water that we drink, the people that we speak to. I think what might take us out of alignment the most is how we speak to ourselves, how much we put ourselves down. I tell my clients, would you talk to a stranger the way that you talk to yourself? Probably not. So why do you talk to yourself that way? Why is it okay to put yourself down or talk about your weight or talk about your hair, if you wouldn't do that to a stranger, don't do it. Take care of yourself. Self-care is a huge factor in how we feel with our energy. Meditation, journaling, eating right, getting moving. There's, so many different aspects. I've learned that healing is a never-ending journey. It may be called taking care of yourself, it may be called healing. It's never ending. And when you do take care of yourself, when you continue to heal, when you continue to educate yourself, you're just all better for it.
That could sound kind of discouraging to some people, Tenya, that it's a never-ending journey. But I think if we shift our mind and we actually step into the joy and appreciation of looking after ourselves, it's a totally different journey.
It is. And I can see how that can be discouraging. I just don't, maybe it's just because I don't look at it as discouraging, because I enjoy taking care of myself. I enjoy the healing. I enjoy the journey. So maybe that's just my words.
It's all good. I was just thinking of the listeners that, some people really struggle, right? They really struggle in their
They
lives
do.
with self-acceptance, with their emotions, with experiences from the past. And we've already talked about how some of these things can be patterns from past lives or inherited through our genetic makeup. Are there any other roots into our unconscious that these little triggers pop in?
Yeah, absolutely. You could have shared imbalances that you share with somebody else that, maybe you shared a moment with a bully when you were in school with somebody else, and you both carry that emotion of fear from that bully, or absorbed energies. There's, suppressed energies. There's energies that you have so many of them that they just resonate through you like a bell. They can come from entities, they can come from people, they can come from items. If you have crystals have energies attached to them, and those energies can jump off of that crystal and jump into you. They can come just about anywhere, which can also be discouraging. But, I'm very transparent. I don't want people to think that energy healing is an overnight pill. It's not. That's why it's a journey. It's you have to do the conscious work and you have to do the subconscious work in my belief, in order to really live your life to the fullest. You can't just do one or the other.
I think that's a really important comment to make, Tenya, because a lot of people expect miracles from their energy workers, and we don't expect that same level of results from our physiotherapists, our doctors, our dentists,
Right.
anywhere else. But somehow we have the idea, and I'm not going to say that it's not possible,
It's absolutely possible.
but I think that the person that's being healed or doing the healing work is equally responsible for the results.
Absolutely.
They can hold on to their stuff if they want to, right?
Oh, yeah. We can release several emotions in one session, and the person doesn't feel better because they still have a bulk of those same emotions that are plaguing them, or they just don't want to heal. They're not ready to heal. And our subconscious can feel like it's not safe to heal right now.
So let's talk a little bit about the heart wall.
So a heart wall is a layer of emotions that we build up in front of our hearts to protect us. And they say that I think it's 93% or 98% of people have some sort of heart wall. So the way that I can, I guess, best explain it is, if you have a heart wall and you are in the market, you want to find a spouse, you see this person across the room, and you just find them really attractive, and you want to send them this energy that, hey, I'm interested in you. And you have a heart wall and they have a heart wall. So you want to send out this beautiful energy. So we'll make it look like a butterfly, right? This butterfly needs to first get through your heart wall. So it has to find a crack or a hole to get through. So this butterfly struggles through your heart wall, and it might tear a wing or break off an antenna, and it flutters across the room to this other person. Well, this person also has a heart wall. So now that butterfly has to get through their heart wall. So it has to find a crack to get through on their end. And it might tear the other wing, or a leg might fall off. But by the time it gets to their heart energy, they're not really feeling that you're that interested, because they've got that protection, that wall built up around their heart. And that energy had to get through your own as well. So until you're able to get those emotions down that are protecting you from heartache, from feeling pain, but it's also protecting you from feeling love and joy, you might be missing something. You might not hear what other people are trying to tell you, either verbally or energetically, physically. You just might not feel it.
And these heart walls, they can be pretty big.
They can. I don't measure heart walls anymore, because I think it, at least for my clients, they were just so taken back that this wall could be, 168 feet deep or 3 miles deep or whatever. Unless my clients ask questions, I don't try to explain too much detail about what I'm finding, because I don't want there to be fear around what we're finding. I just want them to understand that, hey, we all have this emotional baggage. We all carry it, whether it's our own, our ancestors, or whatever. We all carry it. It's not a fearful thing to have all of this negative energy. It's just energy. It's just like emotions are not good or bad. I try to think of this energy as not good or bad. It's just energy that is impacting us in a way that we're not comfortable with.
I totally agree. Emotions aren't good or bad. They just are. They're just energy in motion. And our job is to feel them, let them go, let our attachment to them go, and then carry on and follow the joy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tenya, for anyone who is interested in learning more, how can they do that?
You can find me on my website at designyourexistence.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Design Your Existence.
Perfect. So in the meantime, let's remember to stay present in the moment and breathe through those emotions, right?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you for being my guest, Tenya.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for listening to this week's edition of Exploring the Mystical Side of Life. You will find all of our conversations on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Come visit me at thoughtchange.com, pick up your copy of Learning to Listen, and learn what energy medicine can do for you. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.